The mundane and repetitive parts of an app, such as authentication, are already finished. It's time to focus on the true functionality and start building the notes feature. Hello, welcome to ResoCoder, where you are getting prepared for real app development so that you will get freelance clients or a job and be confident about the apps you build. So subscribe and hit the bell to join us on our quest for becoming in-demand Flutter developers. In this part of this domain-driven design notes tutorial series, you are going to learn how to set up yet another feature in the domain layer, and that is going to be the notes feature. We currently don't have any such feature. We only have auth, we have core, and that's it. But of course, since our app is going to be dealing with notes, we need to have a way to represent them in our code. And we are going to start off from the actual real representation of notes, how the data is going to be organized in our app. So this means we first need to build out the value objects and entities, which will be able to represent something like this, a note which can have a text, a color, to-dos, and those to-dos, of course, are just limited to 3 item lists, and the to-do itself is represented by a done status and a name of the to-do. So in order to represent something like this, we need to have a separate feature in our domain layer, which will encompass all of these different value objects and entities. That is the note and the to-do entity. But before all of that, let's just quickly maybe fix a few things which kind of did not catch my attention previously. If we launch the app which we are currently building, so I just open up some file, hit F5, we're going to see this beautiful loading indicator for eternity because we currently don't have the notes overview page. But if we go over to the presentation layer and we go to the splash page, currently from the previous part, whenever we are already authenticated, we are basically going to stay in this page and display a circular progress indicator, which is precisely what's happening right now. We can see the splash page and we are not moving anywhere, although we are authenticated. But for just development purposes, we are going to make it so that we are going to navigate over to the sign-in page even when we are authenticated. Just for a brief moment, we are going to revert this change in just a bit. So now when I hard restart the app, we're going to arrive in the sign-in page again. And actually it doesn't look very appealing because of its lack of padding. So we are going to go over to the sign-in feature, sign-in form here. And on this form, or actually this list view, we're going to add padding, and it's going to be const h instance all 8. Now when I save this, the form is going to look much better. It's going to be padded from all of its sides. And one last thing, it may be good to indicate that something is happening in the background whenever we try to sign in. So for example, when I try to sign in with Google, I sign in, of course, I'm already signed in, but you cannot see that something is happening in the background, especially when I sign in with email, some gibberish email, which is valid, of course, some password, which is valid, but it's not present in our app, and I try to sign in. You cannot see that something is going on in the background, that some process is running. You can only see the error message. And we probably want to show a progress indicator at the bottom So what we are going to do at the bottom of the sign-in form, we are going to add a bit of a UI, which should have been there from the beginning if I did not forget about it. So the last children of the list view will be shown only if the state of our form is submitting. We're actually not using this value. Well, now we are using it, but we haven't been using it anywhere until now, but we should have used it like this. And if we are submitting currently whatever is present inside the form, we want to show the following widgets. We want to show a const sized box with height of 8, just to provide a bit of a spacing from the previous widget. And then we're going to just display const linear progress indicator, and we want to make it non-deterministic, non-determined, something like that. And in order to make it like infinitely loading, we are going to provide a null value to it. Okay, with this done, we have just fixed the UI, because when I try to sign in with this non-existent email and password, you're going to see for a short period of time the loading indicator at the bottom of the screen. Well, maybe not the exact bottom, but it's present at least under the button, which is nice. With this minor fix done, we're going to revert the change inside the splash page. So bye-bye navigation to sign-in page. Again, we are just printing something to the console whenever we are authenticated. And also, if you want to get the code which I have just written, check out the link from the video description, which is going to take you to GitHub. Next up, it's going to again be a bit of a maintenance task, and that is to go over to pubspec YAML and update all of the dependencies, because believe it or not, those dependency versions are changing like crazy. So darts, let's update it. Sort of doesn't work. Why did it add this caret over there? Duplicate it, it doesn't matter. Oh well, yeah, it sort of doesn't work. I have to delete the carets, but hey, can't complain. Okay, so injectable is being updated. This is going to bring some issues which we will need to fix, but they're gonna be easily fixable. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, this thing needs to go here. I almost started speaking Slovak. Anyway, everything needs to be updated. Cool. I think we are we done? Yeah, we are. So now we can save pubspec YAML. Just make sure that you update your dependencies periodically to get all of the latest features and fixes, but inevitably some issues are going to stem out from updating your dependencies. But actually it seems that we didn't get any issues, which is rather an interesting thing. I thought we are going to get some. Oh, I see. We actually did get an issue, but it's still deprecated. As you can see here, inside Firebase auth facade, we are registering our concrete class under its interface, iAuth facade. So previously you had an annotation called register as, which is now being deprecated, as you can see. Now what you should do is tell it to be a lazy singleton with capital L, provide a constructor and an as parameter or argument, and over there you are going to pass the type, something like this. Now we can delete the register as annotation and open up our trusty terminal and run our beautiful commands, which is going to be present in the video description. And once this runs, we should be all good, and we should not have any deprecated things used. Hopefully everything is going to work out. There are some issues in other files, but I don't think we can do anything about them, especially about the issues which are in the generated files. So let's see again the problems. Generated, annotate overridden members. We should probably fix that. Let's do it actually. And yeah, just imports. We can, it's not important, but we can actually fix the overridden members. So this is happening inside value objects.dart in the auth feature right here. So we should override the value of an email address, because even fields can be overridden, and also the value of the password should be overridden like this. Now we have again two less of a warning and we can continue about our mission to add the notes feature, right? We are going to start off maybe unconventionally, and that is by creating all of the possible failures which can occur during creating of a note or the to-do. So again, if I open up the already finished app, which should be present over here, and I try to create a new note, and I hit the done button, but the note body is not filled in. It says cannot be empty. Also, we will want to limit the note's length to a certain number of characters so that you aren't going to write long novels in your notes. Notes should be kind of small, and also it's good because the size of a Firestore document cannot be bigger than 1 megabyte. So technically, if you have a very long note, you could cross the limitation of the document size, and we definitely don't want that to happen. So we're going to have, it cannot be empty, it cannot have an exceeding length. Then to-dos, if you take a look at them, they cannot be multi-line. There can be only one line inside a to-do name. So that's another failure. Then we can have only 3 to-dos unless we activate premium, but that's actually not gonna be implemented. So there is a certain failure which needs to tell us that the number of the to-do items is too large. And that's about it when it comes to failures. So where are we going to create these failures? We have created such failures even previously for the email and password input, and we have put them into domain core failures.dart. Some of you have already written in the comments that what if we have a larger app and we cannot just put all of the failures of all the features into just one value failure class. I hear you. I'm going to explain what you should do if you want to separate your failures and all of that, validators maybe, by the feature to which they belong. However, just know that in our app, because it's so small and because it's a tutorial, I want to avoid nesting as much as possible. And the thing with feature-specific failures is that the way we can implement them is just a total nesting hell. You are going to have multiple levels of nesting, and because such code would not probably even fit on the screen when I have the font enlarged so much, we are going to put all of our failures, even for the notes feature, into the core folder and not into their own separate notes folder. So that's the reason why I am putting everything into just one value failure union. But if you want to split it throughout multiple files and multiple failure unions, you will essentially need to do something like this. Let me just copy this union of failures, paste it below, and I'm going to rename value failure to say auth value failure. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to delete all of the union cases from the value failure, the top level one. So now we have a separate value failure union for the auth feature. And similarly, we would be able to have a separate value failure union for the nodes feature. So nodes value failure. Again, same thing. This would, for example, hold a failure called exceeding length, let's say. Exceeding length. You could, of course, spread it throughout multiple files, so it would not, again, be in one place, and it would be nicely separated, maintainable. Everything would belong to just one particular feature. It would not be mixed from multiple features simultaneously. But what you would need to do in this case, when you have per feature failures or any other union which you want to have per feature, is that in the rare occasion where there can be multi-feature failures incoming into your, let's say, block, because there may be certain instances where a single block will need to handle both auth failures and nodes failures at the exact same moment from the exact same method call. And because of this, you just absolutely need to be able to join handling of auth failures and nodes failures. And how can you do that without any real sort of an inheritance to which you may be used to? Because, you know, inheritance, it's easy. You can cast a type, you can upcast, downcast, and everything is fine. You can even use smart casting in Dart. But with unions, the story is entirely different. You cannot cast a union. You need to compose it much like you compose widgets. And this is where the nesting comes from. So what I am referring to when I say composing unions is that you will need to create a union case for each and every feature-specific failure. So let's say we have the auth value failure. So we're going to say value failure auth, and its name will be, let's say, auth failure, or maybe just auth with underscore. It doesn't really matter how it's called. And it's going to hold an instance of auth value failure. Okay, don't forget about the actual type. We need to put it here. The F. This should work, hopefully. Yep, it does. And we would do the same thing for the nodes. I hope that everything is good so far. So nodes. All right. And as you can see, what we have now done is that we are composing individual value failures into just one value failure, but not in a way as we would do it before, where all of the individual invalid email, short password, and exceeding length would be held themselves inside value failure. No, now only their sort of, let's call them parent unions, feature-specific unions, are held inside the non-feature-specific union. They are composed. And as you can probably tell, This would create a lot of nesting, just like in Flutter you have a lot of nesting of widgets if you do it incorrectly and you do not separate out your widgets into specific classes. And exactly the same thing would happen here. That's why we're not going to do it like this, but I just want you to know how you can separate your unions into feature-specific parts. So just pause the video. Hopefully I'm also going to put this code into the README or somewhere of the GitHub repository so that you can refer to it even later on. And now we're going to revert back to our old ways of doing things. So I'm actually going to probably destroy my Control and Z keyboard shortcut. Okay, here we go. We are back in our old ways where we have just one single union of invalid email and short password. And to it, we are going to add also the failures of nodes. So the first one is going to be exceeding length. And in addition to holding the failed value, which will have that exceeding length, it's also going to hold the max length, which is permitted. So int max, just to be able to inform, for example, the user about the actual max length, which can be present. Actually, I have just now noticed that we have hard-coded the types of the failed value fields, whereas, well, it's nothing bad that they are strings because we are actually going to be dealing only with strings in this tutorial series, but we can actually make them generic of type T, and it's going to work just fine because our value failure is actually generic itself. So, you know, why hard code a type when you can have it generic? It's always better to have types being generic, especially in something like a failure. Okay, so now that we have the exceeding length done, the next one we have talked about is that the node body and the to-do body cannot be empty. So because of that, we're going to create an empty failure. So empty and empty. Cool. The next one is going to be multi-line. Let me just copy the empty failures multiple times over there, or maybe not. And so multi-line, again, multi-line. And lastly, we are going to have the list too long failure, which is of course present here because we cannot have more than 3 to-dos. We are not permitted. So this will be list too long. And it's also going to show us the maximum amount that the list can hold. So now we have the failures which are going to be used with the nodes feature, that is exceeding length, empty, multi-line, and list too long. And we also have some sort of an error present here for some reason. Let's check out what's going on. So, okay, exceeding length, copy with. We have some errors over here. I don't know why. Maybe if we check out the output, no, it's not going to tell us anything. So maybe we just need to delete the failures freezed file. Maybe when we save that and check out the generated file now, it doesn't contain any errors. So again, it's been, whoa, it does contain errors. So duplicate definition, exceeding, oh, of course. So why didn't you scream at me from behind the screen? I don't know, you should have. So we have not renamed the last class to list too long. We have kept its old name, which we have copied. So now we are gonna be all good. So yeah, we have just renamed the actual generated class name to be unique in that file, and now everything is working when it comes to value failures. And that's it for this part, where we have gone over some maintenance tasks. We have updated our dependencies, fixed our UI from the previous parts, and also we have ventured into the world of nodes finally, and we have started to implement the nodes feature sort of from the very end, and that end are failures, which are very important to keep our data integrity. We have created exceeding length, empty, multi-line, and list too long failures. And you have also seen how to sort of separate your failures into feature-specific unions. And you also know why we are not doing that, basically just to save time and space which the code takes up. But otherwise, it's a pretty good thing to do. So again, make sure to check out the code from the link in the video description if you want to go over it at your own pace, and also to copy it however you want. And if you are serious about becoming a great Flutter developer who can build real apps for clients or at a job, go to flutter.education. Link is also in the video description to get the top curated Flutter news and resources aimed at improving your app development career. Over there you can also subscribe to my mailing list to get the best Flutter resources delivered weekly right into your inbox. And if you don't want to miss more tutorials from this tutorial series where we do the domain-driven design thing, or also other great tutorials about Flutter and Dart, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also join Notification Squad by hitting the bell button to make sure you grow your Flutter skills, because here on ResoCoder, I am determined to provide you with the best tutorials and resources so that you will become an in-demand Flutter developer. If this video helped you with understanding the failures, give it a like and also share it with other developers who are surely going to find it beneficial. Leave a comment if you have anything to say, and see you in the next video.